Welcome, class. Let's see what our options are for today's lesson. We have A. Learn the Do-Ti-Re line, B. Sing DBU's alma mater in solfege, or C. Clean and detail Dr. Wallace's car. Well, let's go with letter A. Harmonic dictation is just like rhythmic dictation or melodic dictation in that we're using our ears, in this case, to listen for a harmony or a certain chord progression. What makes harmonic dictation a little bit more difficult than melodic or rhythmic dictation is that we're listening to chords, and chords can have at least 3 pitches. So for example, a 1 chord is made up of a do, mi, and a so. A 2 chord is made up of a re, fa, la. A 7 chord is made up of a ti, re, and a fa. Now, a way to simplify the process is to simply get rid of some of the options we're listening for. So rather than trying to hear all these syllables, we are only going to have to listen for 3. A do, ti, and re. These 3 syllables will help us identify any chord we have to. And what do we do with these other syllables? We can just forget about them. Less dramatic than I thought. Here we have a 5-line staff, and let's say we're in treble clef, so that these lines are E, G, B, D, and F. And let's also say that we're in E major, so that these blue poker chips are outlining an E major scale, so do, re, mi, fa, so, la, and ti. And on each of these scale tones we've built triads, so that we have a 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, and 7 chord. Now, the first step in harmonic dictation is being able to identify if a chord has a do or a ti in it. But before you can identify that orally, you have to know which chords have do's or ti's in them. And remember, why do's and ti's? Well, do, right here, is our most important pitch in the scale. And then ti, right here, is our leading tone and leads us back up to do. So let's take a look at these chords individually and see if they have a do or a ti in them. Our 1 chord, does it have a do or a ti? Well, it has a do right here, and so we will mark that do with this white poker chip. Our 2 chord doesn't have a do or a ti, so we're going to skip this one. Our 3 chord, does it have a do or a ti? It has a ti right here, so we're going to mark that ti with this red chip. Our 4 chord, does it have a do or a ti? It has a do right here. 5 chord has a ti, so we'll put a red chip here. Our 6 chord has a do, and our 7 chord has a ti. So let's look back at this 2 chords that we skipped. You'll notice there is no do or ti, so we need some syllable to help us identify it. And we'll use the syllable re, which in this case is an F sharp, as our syllable to identify our 2 chord. And so we'll mark that with a black to remind us that when we're listening for a 2 chord, we want to be listening for a re. So now let's reorder these triads so that in the lowest voice we have a do, ti, or re, depending on the chord. Alright, so just bring this down. Bring this up, and of course this is called inverting, the musical term. And then we'll just slide all of these guys down here. So here you can see we have identified which chords have do's in them, which chords have ti's in them, and our 1 chord that has a re in them. So our do chords are 1, 4, and 6. Our ti chords are 3, 5, and 7, and our re chord is our 2. And these will be the same for any major key. All right. So before we go on to listening for them, let's sing the bottom voices of these chords. So this would be our do, re, ti, do, ti, do, ti. Now let's go to the piano and see if we can identify these orally. Now that we know that chords can be identified by either having a do, ti, or re in them, we're going to practice being able to hear if a chord has a do in it. So how we're going to do this is we're going to first tonicize. Alright, and we're going to hold out the do. We're going to sing it out loud. So do. And as we're singing this, I'm going to play a chord. And we're going to listen to see if that chord is consonant or matching with the do that we're singing. And if that's so, it means it's a do chord. If it's dissonant or doesn't match with the do that we're singing, we know that it's not a do chord and it's a ti or a re chord. So let's give this a try. So sing this do, and I'm going to play a chord. So do, do. Notice how the do is consonant with this chord. Do, and in fact it is a do chord. There's a do in it. So we know that that's one of our 3 do chords. It's either a 1, 4, or 6. Let's try it again. So hold out our do, and let's try a different chord. Do, do. Again, this is consonant, right? Do. So it's again another do chord. Let's try it a 3rd time. So hold out our do, do, do. This one is dissonant, right? It doesn't seem to match. Do. So that would tell us it's not a do chord, and that chord doesn't have a do in it. So it's either a ti chord or a re chord. So let's try one other thing. Instead of holding out do, we're going to hold out ti. So we'll sing ti, and let's try that last chord and see if it sounds a little bit different when we sing ti. So ti, ti. Yeah, that chord is now consonant. So now we know that that is a ti chord. Now, do we know if it's a 5 or a 7 or a 3 chord? Well, no. But this is a good first step in being able to identify chords. Now, in the next video, we'll actually look at dictating on paper some harmonic progressions.